You're listening to the Awkward High Five podcast. You can follow along in your book. You'll know it's time to turn the page when you hear the chimes ring like this.
You know, it's dangerous for you to be here in the frozen food section.
Why is that?
Because you could melt all this stuff.
Steve Martin makes me miss Tom. What's Tom do?
Okay, let me bring this down.
You see him all the time, right?
Steve Martin makes you miss who?
Tom. Doesn't he remind you of Tom?
No.
Whenever I see Steve Martin, it always reminds me of Tom. I don't know why.
So right off the bat, I'm going to have to explain what Richie's talking about. Tom is a friend of ours who we've known forever.
And he's Steve Martin.
And I guess he reminds me of Steve Martin. He's never reminded me of Steve Martin. I don't know. What era is Steve Martin? Are we talking Roxanne? Are we talking My Blue Heaven? Are we talking the Jerk?
I'm talking like late 80s, early 90s Martin.
Is there a specific role? Because let me just tell anyone listening at home that Tom doesn't look anything like Steve Martin. So
No. It's like a mannerisms thing. Maybe it's the way their sense of humor is. I don't know, but...
I mean, I did see him one time wearing a thing that made it look like an arrow went through his head. And then another time I saw him plucking on a banjo when no one was looking. So I guess those things, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but he definitely reminds me of Steve Martin a lot.
All
like
right.
Three Amigos, Steve Martin.
That's a good Steve Martin.
Yeah, that was probably his best, you know. I think that was his peak.
You kind of remind me of a Three Amigos.
Martin Short?
Martin Short.
That's what I'm going for.
And then I guess I'm just going to give myself Chevy Chase. So.
Yeah, you get Dusty Bottoms.
Fuck that. I would take Chevy Chase. I actually, did I tell you about when
You do kind of remind me of Chevy.
All right. Wait, what Chevy? Caddyshack Chevy? Because I'll take that.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Christmas Vacation Chevy.
Oh, I think I just turned you down. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Say it again.
Christmas Vacation Chevy.
All right, it's a little bit older of a Chevy that I like. But you know what's crazy about that is, and I do this sometimes, is I will, like, I'll watch a movie that we watched when we were kids or whatever, and like, let's take Christmas Vacation for example. And I'll sometimes, and it's the worst thing in the world you could do, especially when you feel like you haven't accomplished much at your age or whatever. But sometimes I'll go on IMDb. I can't believe I'm even admitting this, but I'll go on IMDb and I'll look.
You go on what?
IMDb.
I don't know what that is.
All right, give a second for everybody at home to laugh right now.
I guess it's something that has to do with technology, right?
It's on the internet.
Right.
IMDb.
Damn that web.
Is my ex-fiance's autobiography. No, I'm just kidding. It's
I was like, yeah?
It's the Internet Movie Database.
Okay.
And it's a database on the internet that archives every movie and therefore every actor and writer and all that stuff, and it's all linked in. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll go on IMDb and I'll look up the actor, and then I'll look up the year that they did the movie, and I'll see how old they were in that movie. You know?
I know what you mean.
And like, for instance, I don't know for sure, but because we don't even have an internet connection here, I don't think so. I can't even look it up. But Chevy Chase
comes and goes.
Chevy Chase was probably, if he was older than we are right now in Christmas Vacation, it was only by a few years. Like
no way.
He was maybe 38 in that.
No way.
All right, I'm gonna use my data to look it up.
Definitely older because he was 30s probably during the first Vacation. You know what I mean?
He was definitely 30s, but
definitely 30s in European Vacation, and that's like 10 years.
Is that 10 years between the two?
Maybe not 10, but I'm going to say he was definitely 40s in Christmas.
All right. How much money are you putting on this?
I don't have any money.
now I'm thinking...
You get a sip of my vodka.
No, I'm good on that. Thank you. You know what? Now I'm fucking thinking that I'm wrong. But the point being... I'm looking it up right now, but the point being that a lot of times when these movies, when we watch these dudes and they were like, and we thought they were like old men, like adults or whatever, they were 35.
I know.
All right, so he was born in 43, and Christmas Vacation came out in 89. So what's that? 43, 53, 63,
45,
73.
46.
Yeah, okay, he was older than that.
Yeah, he's pushing 50. I knew it.
All right, no, you're right.
He's gray and he has old kids.
All right, I was wrong. You're right. But okay. So even in Vacation, like how old would he have been in
the original Vacation? Probably 35.
And he's got like teenage, well, not teenage, but like like kids, like, and he has a family and he's going on vacation. I guess people do that, but it's weird for me being at this age and not doing
not taking your family to Wally World.
Yeah, right, exactly, or yeah.
Nah, I know what you mean. I do the same thing sometimes,
Like the other day, and I know that this one's probably more relatable for people at home. Is oh man, I'm running through IMDb and I just saw Caddyshack 2 and I shuddered for a second.
You have to shut the show down so we can watch it.
No, not Caddyshack 2. Is Caddyshack 1.
Oh yeah,
Caddyshack 1 is the greatest movie ever made.
Right.
Caddyshack 2 is the worst movie ever made.
Yeah, that is pretty bad with Jackie Mason and Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah, Dan Aykroyd took Bill Murray's fucking thing.
and made it terrible.
What was I just saying there? Oh, with sports. So I'm a baseball fan. I watch a lot of baseball. Go Mets. And I just was reading. So the Yankees, CC Sabathia, their pitcher, he said, fuck the postseason. Well, they're not in the postseason now. They lost the game last night, so it doesn't matter. But they were going to the wild card game. They could have had a chance to play in the postseason. And he said, fuck it. I'm going to rehab. I'm one of your best pitchers, and I'm not going to, if you guys make
What do you go to rehab for?
For alcohol. For alcohol. Yeah. Apparently he was like on all these benders and shit. But anyway, the stunning part of this, and I don't know why I would ever think otherwise, but I'm reading this article and it says Sabathia, 35, and I was like,
that's kind of old.
But still, like when I look at CC, if I ever met CC Sabathia, I'd shake his hand and say, hi, sir. You know what I mean? Like I feel like he's at least a decade older than me. Now I know he can't be because he's not Jamie Moyer. He's not gonna be 45 pitching or whatever. But like when you look at these people sometimes on the mound, and I'm sure it happens in other sports and football and shit like that. Even sometimes the dudes in their like 20s, I feel like they're older than I am.
Yeah, and football's hilarious because those dudes are like 21 years old, you know what I mean? And you hear the commentators talking like 5 more years till his retirement. Dude's like retiring at 26 before I even know what I want to be when I grow up.
Well, yeah, I mean, but that's the benefit. That's the payoff of devoting your whole life to playing sports,
right.
and a lot of people don't get it. A lot of people do that shit. And I mean, this is why I think that college sports students, especially the football players and like the South, the ones that with like it's a big business and everything like that. I think they should get paid, and the reason I think that is a lot of people devote their whole life to playing this sport.
Right.
They go to college, they're making other people millions of dollars, and then before they could get in the NFL, they blow their fucking leg out.
Right. Well, that's the thing. They are considering paying college athletes.
Oh,
now.
Are they?
Yeah, it's in consideration. I don't know how far it's gotten. It's not something I follow, but I have heard some talk about college athletes being paid. Yeah, especially football.
Yeah, and football is the most dangerous, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's why they retire at 35 because they don't want to be brain dead. You know what I mean? Giving their whole family the cross-face crippler, not knowing what's going on.
Not to get off the cross-face crippler football thing, but Chevy was 40 when the first
Vacation
came out. Yeah.
Really?
So,
well,
he was 38. Okay, he was 37 in Caddyshack, so that's a little bit closer.
Yeah.
But he looks young in Caddyshack.
Fletch? If I look like young 30s when he was Fletch.
What was Fletch before Caddyshack? This is interesting radio we're doing.
Probably around the same time.
My favorite thing is you didn't know what IMDb is. It's fucking ruled. Now I'm looking up his filmography. He's been in 77 movies.
77?
So, yeah, well, maybe,
That's pretty good considering how whacked he was.
No, Caddyshack was first. And Vacation was first. Spies Like Us. European Vacation. And then Fletch in 1985, yeah. And then the next year, Three Amigos.
He had a good 30s, I guess.
Yeah. What is your favorite Chevy Chase movie now that we're talking about him?
Oh, my God. My favorite. Three Amigos is definitely up there. You know, that could almost fall in more of my favorite movies than Chevy movies. You know, 'cause that is one of my faves.
Apparently, I didn't know this, but apparently that flopped when it came out. Like that wasn't
Really?
a big. Like we don't know the films from like the early '80s.
We weren't going to the movies.
We watched them on VHS,
Yeah.
so we had no idea if there was like. So there's some films to us that might be like that was the greatest film ever, and then you find out that it like nobody liked it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think now it's because. I think what happened with that is in syndication and like Channel 11 would play that movie all the time and shit.
Right.
People started liking it. But when it came out, I don't think it did very well in the
Well,
theaters.
yeah, because the main characters, you know, they were hilarious in it, but, you know, it took people a while to realize that El Guapo steals that movie and is the highlight of every scene.
You know what? The one thing
And El Guapo's buddy.
the one thing that bothers me about that film, and it has nothing to do with the film because they could not have predicted this, but the resurgence of the word plethora. And when people,
That's the best part.
It's a funny bit in the film.
Yeah.
Totally funny bit.
What,
in the
that's
film.
not what plethora means?
No, it does.
Oh.
And it's a funny bit in the film. And because it was such a funny bit in the film, then that was the part of the film that people would quote the most. So, like, even the least funny person in the world would know the plethora bit from Three Amigos.
Yeah.
And therefore, from just saying that all the time, you know, like, El Guapo, what is a plethora, all that. Now, plethora has come back where people use that word, and it's all because of Three Amigos.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
No one even knew what plethora was.
Well, it's certainly not idiot kids or you know or whatever didn't know what plethora was. So I don't know. My dissertation, I guess, here is that Three Amigos replanted that word back into the English language.
Yeah, they did.
And I don't like that word. It's annoying. Like if somebody comes up to me and or if I'm at a party and I say, do you have anything to eat? And they smile and they say
plethora of food.
Yeah, over here we have a plethora of cheeses.
Yeah.
I'm like, number one, I know you're just saying that because of Three Amigos. That's why you're smiling, because you still think it's funny. But also, you kind of think of it. You think it's a big word. Like you think you're using a big word and coming across it a little bit.
Yeah, no, I see that. But
They could say assortment of cheeses.
When people say
they could say a
plethora,
wide variety of
I
cheeses.
still actually enjoy it. I'm the goofball that laughs.
I had
Congratulations, not funny people. You're making me smile.
I didn't say they weren't. Never mind. I'm not calling anybody not funny. That is a large cigarette that
No, I hate on you.
I thought last Friday was going to be the drinking show, but you're smoking hundreds and drinking vodka.
Yeah, this is like a Noop 120. I can't stand them. They definitely taste different than the regular ones, but
I don't know.
you know, you gotta smoke what you get.
I have not had a cigarette in almost 9 years. Believe that?
That's awesome. I wish I could do that.
Yeah, I guess.
They're delicious.
So I wanted to, I guess, I think. All right. So for the listener at home, I kind of touched on this a little bit, but I'm at like a total reset point in my life where I really don't have any responsibilities, and I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, how I'm going to live for the rest of my life, because the way I was doing it for the last 35 years just didn't work out. It just me and the way I was living life, just, you know, my relationship with money, my relationship with women, my relationship with work, all that stuff. I'm really cars, computers, yes.
I know you hate those things.
Yeah, actually, me and computers get along better now.
Really?
Yeah. Because
You've
computers,
reconciled?
I've figured them out more, and also they've become easier. My true hate for computers was more back in the mid 2000s, where you know, everything was PC, Macs were crazy expensive, and you would buy a printer and you'd be all or like something like that, or a scanner, and you'd be all excited.
And then shit would happen.
And then you would go home and you'd plug it in, and they wouldn't talk to each other, and you have to download drivers, and the drivers weren't out, and like nothing worked all the time. That's when I hated computers. Now, for the most part, you plug something in, and it works, whether it's PC or so. But yeah, computers too, all that stuff.
That's kind of almost similar to the change in women these days.
Why? Because you can't just
you
plug
used to
them.
have to figure them out. They used to be complicated. Now you can just plug it in, and they just shut up.
I'm glad you're having that very misogynist experience in your life. That is the exact opposite of me. I even, with the last serious relationship I was in, was with somebody who I was with for many reasons, but one of the big reasons was because she was, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but simple. You know what I mean? Like she kind of was just went with the flow and was like cool about most stuff and everything
games,
like that.
Nothing to figure out.
Well, not until the end, and until the true colors shining through. But yeah, and so that was what I was looking for, because my last relationship before that was with some really quick. She was the only girl that I've ever dated that was quicker than I was, and I'm not saying that I'm like.
I don't know if she was quicker than you, but she kept up with you.
No, she was.
You think?
Yeah, I'll honestly admit that when we would get into like battle of wits conversations where we're trying to out sarcasm each other and everything like that, she'd win. She'd win like 85% of the time. Yeah, Lindsay was a fucking pretty intelligent chick, and
she was a whip.
And but that relationship burned out so bad, and mostly a lot of the reason for that was because it was kind of these two people trying to like out sarcasm each other all the time, and like the reason we were attracted to each other was ultimately one of the reasons.
Battle of wits.
Yeah. So the next girlfriend I got involved with was not that, and that's not a bad thing, you know what I mean? But that's just not one of her traits. She, I don't even know why I'm assessing my girlfriends right now. But anyway, the whole point was that you had said that it's easy now.
Yeah.
But even the easiest chick that I was with, it turned out not being easy. So I don't know. It might be me. It probably is me.
No, it's chicks.
So the point. So the point of this. Well, you're dating someone right now, and would you consider her to be a no nonsense kind of gal? Like she's down with hanging.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no like mind games or anything like that.
No games, no nothing. It's very simple.
Well, see, that's good.
Simple.
And how long have you guys been seeing each other?
About 8 months.
Okay.
8 months, and
it's a little early to tell.
Yeah,
and I'm not that I'm rooting for that. I hope.
Right, but at this age, at this point in life, like I've totally given up on the representative thing. You know what I mean? And
The
know
what?
the representative thing. How you display your best self for the first few months of a relationship until like the true you starts shining through.
Well, yeah, but I don't think that's a conscious thing. I think that
Right.
even if you consciously try to strip that away, it's still gonna come out. You know what I mean? Like it's just it is just the way you are.
You still put a little extra butter on there.
Yeah, I mean it's human nature.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
But I mean, it's just it's there's no games, there's no you know what I mean? There's none of that bull crap that I've just been through so much of that crap that if there was even a scent of it in the air, I would have definitely turned the other way. But
well, it's hard to tell sometimes,
Definitely.
Sometimes it takes 5 years to tell, or whatever. I mean, that's actually one of the reasons that I've been so slow into kind of pursuing any real relationship. You know what I mean? Like, I have no desire. It's been almost a year since I left my last relationship, and I still don't really have any desire to like date somebody. You know what I mean? There's always
it's good to be single for a while.
Yeah, there's always going to be people that you're hanging out with, but as far as like finding another girlfriend, because it's almost like I don't want to eventually have to deal with all the craziness that's going to happen. And that's not saying the girls are crazy. I'm putting myself into this as well. You know what I mean? It's a 50-50 thing either way. But yeah, it's almost at this point I've been through so many of them that I thought were the right and then fell apart. That now, like the next one, I'm probably gonna be sitting there going like, like it's gonna be in that like honeymoon phase in the beginning, and I'm gonna be sitting there going like, yeah, everything's cool right now, but when is this shit coming out? And that's not the way you should go into a relationship.
No, definitely not.
I gotta wait for that shit to clear. I did not want to talk about relationships. What I wanted to talk about, and get your opinion on, because I'm kind of teeter-tottling on this a little bit, but I'm really changing my life a lot. So I've went through a pretty decent physical transformation, you would say.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet, but that was a big part of it. That's a big part of this.
No, you're looking good.
Left my job of 12 years that I hated, without a plan on how to, just my savings and whatever, and made some concessions in order to live without a job for a while while I do all the things I need to do. A bunch of mental reprogramming I've done. I'm super into meditation. I've almost all but stopped drinking and stuff like that. Only on Friday shows, and
That's a lie.
well, yeah, for the most part though. That was the last time I drank, was that show.
No, it's good. It's good.
Anyway. I'm not sitting here trying to say like, oh, I did this. I'm just trying to outline the things that I've done and how far I've come.
Yeah, no, it's
basically
totally
about 8 months. So, but I'm still trying to figure out a plan for the rest of my life. And here's the thing: I consider myself an artistic person. I don't know if you would agree or not, but
I would definitely agree.
Okay, thank you. And I don't know what I want to do for the rest of my life, but what I know that I don't want to do now is I can't do an office job. I don't want to do sales.
Right.
I don't want to do any of that shit. Sales management, which is what I used to do, any of that stuff. I just don't want to do it. At first I was kind of faking myself out, and I was saying, as long as it's a 9 to 5 and you can pursue your interest on the weekends and the nights or whatever. So now I'm looking down the barrel of, I guess I'm becoming one of those people that money's never been important to me, but I always did look at money as a source of relief from your problems,
That is what it is, yeah.
Right. But I always just figured, I always just did the thing of like, oh, if I can make 50 grand a year, I'd be cool. And then you make 50 grand a year and you're like, shit's still stressful. And then you're like, if I can make 65 grand a year, I'd be cool. And then you make 65 grand a year and you're like, shit's still stressful. I haven't made much more than that in my life, but I'm just going to guess as far as it goes up, there's no cap. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it also depends on how you live.
Right. Well, this is what I'm getting at. So I've kind of submitted myself. Of course, I want to make as much money as possible in life. However, I don't want to sacrifice any more of my life to do that towards things that I don't like. So I guess the balance for me is that I'm going to pursue the things in life that I enjoy to do, that I consider myself good at doing, i.e. this that we're doing here, or whether it's a musical thing or comedy or comedy writing, all the stuff that I do on my now I'm throwing up those air quotes,
the flying shrimp
off time, yeah, the flying shrimp, and my personal time. But now I kind of think that is just what I want to do, and the money, the lack thereof, or the abundance of that comes with that is what I'm going to have to live with. You see what I'm saying?
Right. Because you'll be more happier with the lifestyle than you would with the amount of checks you're cashing.
Right. Basically, the thing is that I want to do something that I'm interested in doing, and I know everybody. There's a million websites out there that are devoted to this. People take advantage of people out there that are looking for this. Of course, the follow your dream thing and everything is what everybody wants to do, and I'm not trying to make it as sweet and saccharine kind of like that. I'm not saying like, oh, I'm pursuing my dream, live life and all that stuff.
I know what you're saying.
I just now know at 35 years old, after working a job that I didn't like for 12 years, that I would rather do what I like doing on a daily basis and be poor than doing something that I don't like doing
That's
for the
really
rest
good.
of my life,
That's
and
really
be rich or poor or whatever. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this is what
it almost comes back to what we were saying the other day. Like, a day in your life is a day in your life, and you're gonna do what you got to do to make you happy for that day. And it doesn't revolve around money or things you got. It revolves around doing what you like to do,
Right.
Having a good time.
Well, it's a scary proposition when we are raised and bred in this world that you just, like, I never even thought of the way I'm thinking right now. I mean, that's always been in the back of my head, and I've been an artist and I've performed and stuff like that. But I in the back of my head, I always just thought, okay, you need to make money. You need to make this amount of money, whatever the upper middle class people make. You need to at least make that amount of money so that you could, get a family and get a house and do that kind of thing. And it's hard to think about money otherwise than that.
I got you.
And in the back of my head, I still think that way. Anyway, the whole thing I'm getting at is that I've been nothing but reading for 8 months. That's another thing. It's just constant read. I couldn't even tell you the amount of books I've read. Sometimes I read 2 books in a day if I don't have anything like this to do or anything like that. And I've been studying a lot on different stuff and reading a lot of people's stories and everything. And I think I've found something that will work in my life. But I don't even like saying the word of it because it sounds like I'm I'm trying to join a cult or something like that.
What do you mean, like a certain type of lifestyle?
A certain type of lifestyle. At
Is
least
it an alternative lifestyle?
No, I'm not. I'm not. Although
I'm just
I would
kidding.
love to. There's no way I could turn myself gay. It'd be nice, but
I that's like a new term to me. I heard it being used a lot recently, and I just find it fascinating. Alternative lifestyle.
yeah, I mean,
Does it mean gay?
I think when they say alternative lifestyle, I think that's the number one beacon.
I
yeah.
think it means just like not your normal like 9 to 5, wife and kids, blah blah. I think it means like doing whatever and kind of just like living life by your own terms, and it just not be the stereotypical Donna Reed type lifestyle. Like,
right.
Hi, honey, I'm home.
Oh,
You know
so
what I
you're
mean?
saying that like a single guy, or let's say
Maybe.
like two guys in their 40s who aren't in relationships, like live with each other in an apartment or something like that. That's an alternative lifestyle.
Yeah, that could be considered an alternative lifestyle.
You know what? You might be a little bit more open than me because, to be honest, and I am the least homophobic person on the face of the planet. Every time that I've read alternative lifestyle in print, I just thought gay.
I could be wrong. I
guess if you're if you're like a Nazi sympathist or something, that's also
just going by like the meaning of the word alternative. I don't think alternative means gay. I think alternative means alternative, like just an alternative to the norm. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
no, I totally get what you're saying, and I'm not arguing with you.
Even the way they came up with a genre of music that they titled alternative. That's because they couldn't put it into, at the time,
it was alternative to everything else.
It was alternative
right.
to everything else.
Maybe that's what an alternative lifestyle is you tie a flannel around your waist and watch 120 minutes.
I would be totally cool with that. I would live that for the rest of my life.
I would do anything to have Kennedy come back into my life.
Seriously.
I miss that chick.
Yeah, and if I was like just totally, stricken to only 3 CDs, Belly would be one of them.
Because you want to feed the tray.
Yeah, Belly means alternative.
You would Belly and the Breeders.
That's what I think of when I think of alternative. I think of Belly, the Breeders.
You know who I think of? Who comes to mind the most when I think of alternative music is
Matthew Sweet.
Matthew Sweet's up there.
He is up there.
But Pavement.
Yeah, they're alternative.
Yeah,
even Dinosaur Jr.'s alternative.
Of course. Even the cover of Crooked Rain
is alternative.
Just that cover for some reason. Like if you were to say alternative, I think that's the first thing that's going to flash into my head is that cover of that, which is an amazing album.
Yeah, I love that band.
So now we're totally off what we're saying, but
but it sticks with the term alternative.
but the alternative lifestyle,
the alternative music.
Right. Someone is calling me.
It's just an alternative.
Nobody ever calls me.
Is it an alternative call?
I think it might be.
Then I'll turn it off.
Oh, God. So, okay. This is what I'm thinking about. Is I think I'm going to become, and I've kind of been. This is one of the reasons that I feel so comfortable doing this. And it's not like a switch. I'm not joining a cult or anything like that, but I'm really going to move towards this. And I feel like I've kind of lived like this my whole life. Is I think I'm going to become a minimalist. Are you familiar with what minimalism is?
Yeah. Because, I'm only familiar with the term because of art, because of my art teachings.
Right. Yeah, right. Minimalist art,
obviously.
I
get the term.
Yeah, so same thing relates to life, But I've been reading a lot about it. I've read a couple books on it. Read some things with people that are like really into it and do it, and I think that's the way that I want to live life. And the reason I'm talking about it on here is that it's an interesting thing for me that I'm like logically sitting down and trying to plan out at least like an outline that I'm going to follow for the rest of my life. Not the type of thing of like, oh, I'm going to, be in this career and make this much money.
Right,
Just
right.
that no matter what goes on in my life, professionally, romantically, everything else, I'm going to have a foundation to my life, and I think and I think that foundation is going to be minimalism.
That's a good idea. It keeps things, on an even keel, if you will.
I just think, especially if I want to pursue more creative things, the less stuff that you have, and that's not all minimalism is, but the first thing is you basically just get rid of all your stuff, and once you get rid of all your stuff, you and there's some extreme shit out there. Like there's one dude that does like the 100 items or less challenge, and the thing is like you're supposed to live your whole life with only 100 items or less. And
see, that sounds more like a challenge,
right? And that's kind of like kitschy and weird, and whatever, So I'm not into it that much, but the idea that really caught on to me is that you only possess things that truly add value to your life, right?
I get that.
So like I wouldn't sell. Well, okay, so let's bring up my guitars. For the people at home listening, I have a shit ton of guitars. I sold guitars for a very long time. I got them. I'm an avid guitar player and fan. I got them at a very cheap price. So in the same way that if you sell cars, you end up with a different car every month, whatever, that kind of thing. So except instead of trading the guitars back in, I just kept them all. So I have a shit ton of guitars. And I was thinking about this because every single one of those guitars does mean something to me. I don't.
See, that would be tough with guitars.
I don't like getting rid of any guitars,
especially if you use them all for shows and you think.
But I don't. That's the thing. You know, I don't. Like, there's certain ones, the Telecaster that I used and the Stratocaster that I use in our bands. There's a couple, my SG that
you can't get rid of that Telecaster.
No, I won't.
Yeah.
And there's an SG that I play now that I love, and I just, functionality-wise, is my favorite guitar. I play that all the time. I want to get rid of it. There's another, whatever. I'm not going to throw out my guitars, but I was thinking about that because that was the first thing when I thought about getting rid of all my stuff. That was the first thing that kind of like pinged my like gave me a little sting of like, oh, but I don't want to get rid of any of those. And I thought about it, and some of them do have sentimental value, whether they were purchased for me by somebody or something like that. So those I understand, but I can't play short of having like a Les Paul or an SG for one sound and a Strat and a Tele for another sound and your acoustic and stuff like that. Sure, but once the sound requirements are kind of taken care of, I can't justify having that many guitars. I'm never going to play them.
So how many? If you were just to throw out a number, how many guitars do you think you have?
Probably right now 20.
Really?
Yeah, 20 guitars.
See, I can only picture 10. The other 10, I have no clue what they are.
Yeah, well, they're all packed away in different places. That's what I'm saying. Some of them I haven't seen.
Is that including the mandolin category and the acoustic
category? That's the acoustic and any stringed instrument. Right,
gotcha.
Yeah. But so, yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I actually pined over that a little bit. My first thing was, okay, I'm not going to get rid of any of them. Then I thought to myself, well, I'm not going to just blindly get rid of any of them or sell them. You know what I mean? Like, because it's not a monetary thing. Like turning one of those guitars into cash isn't going to make me feel any better.
Nah, make you feel worse.
Right. And then I thought, well, my father has a studio in which we do this podcast out of sometimes. Every Friday we do the podcast out of. And he's a guitar player and he has a lot of guitars in there. So my thing was, okay, I'm going to, as I move on in my life, I'm just going to leave all of them there with him. And maybe even say I'm giving them to him, and then but I don't know if that's cheating or not. I don't know. So now this is what I think.
No comment.
Yeah, you think it's cheating, right?
It's not cheating. It's just you're keeping them.
Right, because they're going to be there, and I know, and I thought of that. I believe me, I thought of all this. I'm not looking for an easy way out here. I'm struggling with this stuff, but it's good because it really makes you think of everything that you have in your life.
I would think the most. I mean, I'm not trying to tell you what to do or anything, but I think the most gratifying thing would possibly be donating it to a school that's not getting funding for music, or some kid that can't afford a guitar that's dying to learn.
That is correct, sir. That is exactly what I was getting at.
Because by turning it into money, you spend that money, and then you're like, wow, that's all that guitar was worth?
Yeah, right.
Paying a bill.
And the point of this whole thing, it has nothing to do with money.
Of course.
So
that's why I'm saying it would be a disappointing thing if you turn it.
Well, I guess it has to do with money in the way that it allows you, if you're not buying frivolous items and you don't have a lot of upkeep on items, just the things that you really need in your life, it does kind of correlate to money in a little bit, whereas you don't need to make as much money to survive. You know what I mean? Like, the things...
Right. Yeah. That way, I understand. I thought we were talking about turning your guitars into money.
Yeah, we were. And the point that and what you said is exactly what I came down to, is that I think there are some guitars, let's say 5 of them, that I'm not getting rid of. They're important to me. I do use them. They do add value to my life. All those things. There's another
plethora.
Oh Jesus! Another.
I had to.
I understand. It was better than your fucking pun before.
All right.
I'll
give you that. That was pretty terrible.
If that's exactly what I came down to, is if I meet somebody who, like a young kid who is looking to get in a guitar, and he's like a good dude or something like that, then I'm just going to give him a guitar.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is really cool.
So that's my solution to that, and that might change. But there's a lot of other things like clothes you don't wear, electronics that you don't use, cars, houses, all these things. I see. That's why I'm saying that I kind of think that I've lived this already, because I got rid of my car 5 years ago and never looked back. And granted, I was living in a city atmosphere, so it didn't really matter. But I've been living in the suburbs for a little bit now, and I haven't had a car. I don't care. I'll use Uber, or I'll ride my bike, or I'll walk, or whatever. Unless I needed a car to get back and forth to a job or something like that, then that becomes a necessity.
Yeah.
But just to have a car, things like that. So I don't know.
Hey, man, I've been living without a car on and off since I was 17.
Yeah, but that's because you were
2
forced.
years on, 2 years off, 2 years on, 2 years off.
Yeah, but that wasn't by your choice. That was
Vicious cycle.
That was the state taking your license away. So I don't know. I'm only talking about it because it's a decision that I made recently, and also I think it might be interesting for me to keep touching on it through this podcast because I'm literally starting it now, and I don't know how fast it's going to progress, how slow it's going to progress. I guess my ultimate plan, and I read this on a couple different blogs, and I understand there might be people at home listening to this and saying, well, minimalist people, like, because a lot of them are like these douches that are just pushing their ebook and trying to make passive income on the internet and shit like that. Yeah. And I think that
you're actually doing it for yourself. You're not doing it for any type
right, but I'm even just talking about the mentors that I'm reading on the internet.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that I've sifted through the bullshit and kind of come down to the core purposes, you know?
I gotcha. And
I was reading on one blog that what somebody had done, and I think this makes a lot of sense, is they moved into a new apartment. So they're embracing minimalism. They sold their house. They moved into a small apartment. And they boxed up everything that they had, including like their furniture. They obviously didn't box that up, but they put it in the corner and everything. And then as they were unpacking their all their stuff, they made three or four different categories. One was absolutely have to keep. Another one was donate. Another one was sell, and another one was throw away. Mm-hmm. You know, and then that forces you to go through everything that you own and really ask yourself for every single item. Yeah. Does this add any value to my life? And then if it doesn't, then decide, can I make money off of it? Should it just go in the trash? Can somebody else use it? Will it add value to somebody else's life? And, you know, so
again, it comes back to girls. I'm just kidding.
Well, that's another thing, I guess, if we're going to get deeper into this, but let me talk, but the point is that I am right now in a situation where I'm looking for a place to live. And so sooner than later, I will have an apartment to move all my stuff, which is now sitting in storage, into. And at that point, I think I'm going to do this exercise, and I'm going to see how it turns out, and I'll let you guys know.
Yeah, well, before you throw shit out, let me know. 'Cause, you know what I mean? I don't want you to throw shit out.
Because you love shit.
I don't want you to throw shit out that I don't want you to throw out.
Well, yeah, no, I get that. That's cool. Well, you could come over. And
don't throw out the Kramer.
We could do the Kramer was stolen. I don't. Yeah.
The Kramer was stolen.
The Kramer was. It's not the painting from Seinfeld. It's a guitar company. And they made metal axes back in the day, and it was my first guitar that my father gave me. And
it's nowhere around.
I know who stole it. I gave it to my brother. After I had moved on to another guitar, and he brought it someplace and left it someplace, and somebody stole it.
And you know who has this thing?
Well, he doesn't have it anymore. It's all right. We've come to terms with it. We made peace.
I'm not cool with this.
Or it doesn't matter. So in relation to, you were just IMing him.
Oh, damn. Really?
Yeah. So, and we've talked about it. It's no big deal. It's over with. Here's the thing. So you're getting mad over a possession that I don't care about.
But see, I'm a very nostalgic person.
I understand.
You know what I mean?
But sometimes
I keep shit that will just remind me of the simplest day that I once shared on a summer's eve, and it will be like a piece of paper that's ripped in a certain direction.
I do the same thing.
You know
I have a big blue bin that has like every ticket stub of every event or movie that I've ever gone to.
That's
I have
weird,
all that.
Mine's in a blue box too.
Yeah.
Strange.
But that's going to be a part of this, because part of it is, even if you think of that as not invading your space, but clutter is a big part of it.
Right, I understand.
You know, and a lot of things that I heard people say is that you get over the sentimentality. I think I just made up a word there, but you understand what I'm saying. Like
by getting rid of it.
Because you then understand that it's not this piece of paper that's making you remember your ex-girlfriend or your aunt or whatever it is. The memory's in your fucking head anyway. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you don't.
But you need that spark to remind you, because there's I save a lot of shit, and like I used to save way more shit. I threw out a lot of stuff that I considered to be like, memory stuff. You know what I mean? And I threw out a lot of it. I did save a good box worth, and sometimes, usually when I move, because it's not like I go through the box and I'm like, hey, remember this day to myself, but like, when I move, I'll usually go through my shit and I'm like, oh, look at this, look at that, and when I see these things, it reminds me of something. And even though the memory is in my head, that will spark the memory.
Yeah. So you'll remember
more of it.
you'll look at a photograph and then of a time that you might not have remembered, and it'll bring you back to that. And I understand that. I'm not going to get rid of all my photographs. It's not that. But maybe, my fucking movie stub to the first Iron Man in 2008 I could throw away. You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Yeah, like I have a whole thing of I still have all my concert stubs, no doubt, and I'll never throw that out. But I have a whole thing of movie stubs that I've never looked at once in my life because I've checked out my concert stubs.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I have actually.
I see that. I don't know about my concert stubs. I have them. I don't know what I'm going to do with them. See, that's what I'm saying. That's what makes this whole thing.
That's something you got to keep.
I don't know. This is
let me get them.
I'm not gonna. Well, you didn't.
I'll remind you.
Maybe some of them.
I'll call you up and be like, "Yo, man, remember NoFX in 07?"
But that's not getting rid of them. You know what I mean? And again, I'm not saying which way is right or which way is wrong, but that's what makes this interesting. Is that sooner or later I'm going to have to confront all that, and then so
yeah, because there's a million things to be said about that, like. Your clutter clutters you. The things you own end up owning you. You keep 1 foot in yesterday and 1 foot in tomorrow. You shit all over today. You know what I mean?
I've never heard that last one, but
you
shit all over
today.
See,
that's one that I've thought about a lot because I'm Mr. Nostalgia. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's terrible to live in the past. It's probably the worst thing you could do because you totally neglect the future and actually the things you're living in at the moment.
But it's also I was going to say it's also not good to live in the future either. But
true, yeah. Well, like we just said, 1 foot in today, 1 foot in tomorrow. I mean, 1 foot in yesterday, 1 foot in tomorrow. But I've always, for some reason, thought, yesterday was better. Yesterday was better. You know what I mean? And 10 years from now, I'll look at today and be like, today was better.
Right. You got to break yourself of that. That is I was that way too, and I've slowly taught myself, and I haven't mastered it yet, but I've slowly taught myself to.
It's tough.
And I know the words that are going to come out of my mouth right now are going to be the corniest thing that I've said in a long time, but bear with me.
No, I'm good with corny.
To live in the now.
Yeah.
And it's true.
Live in the now.
It's true. I mean, you don't have to read the Eckhart Tolle books or all those things, to figure this simple concept out. And what that concept is that if you're anxious if you think about the future, and you're depressed if you think about the past, and that's but there's also no reason to think about either because neither of them exist.
Right.
Whatever has happened has happened. There's nothing you can change about it.
Well said.
And well, this isn't me. I mean, these are.
No, but I like that.
Right.
I've never heard that. I mean, it goes along with everything else, but just those words.
Yeah, that's the point. Is you can only focus on today, and the only positive thing to do is to focus on what's happening right now. And then you could micro that down.
It's the only thing that's real.
It's the only thing that's real.
Right.
You don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
A fucking condensed shit from an airplane could fall in this apartment right now and kill us.
Yeah.
And also the fucking your cunty girlfriend from 3 years ago, whatever she did to you or whatever, that doesn't exist anymore either. So why get upset about that and why worry about what's going to happen?
Right.
In my experience, the most miserable people that I know are people that worry about the future constantly. Mm-hmm. And whether that's they're worried about getting into a car accident in a car that they're in, or whether that's they're worried about if they're going to lose their job in a year or 10 years from now. Or
living every day in anxiety.
Yeah, it's just no way to live because there's no way that you could even know if you're going to be alive tomorrow. So, so living in the now is definitely something that I've taught myself, and meditation has a lot to do with that.
Well, that brings the whole ride it till the wheels fall off thing into a new light.
Oh, great! Now you're gonna go further in
that. The wheels are turning; they're not off yet. Although there's been a few times where I was like, "Damn, the wheels are off," but
yeah. The wheels fall off quickly.
You just whip out the old jack.
When you proclaim "ride it till the wheels fall off," normally the wheels fall off immediately after that.
I know,
and they fall off for a really fucking long time. And there's no mechanic around that is willing to put them back on and calibrate them. And
right.
A lot of times you just have to abandon that car.
I'll Flintstone it,
light it on fire without its wheels, and move on to the next
Listen
car.
To the horn go.
And then ride that car until the wheels come off that car, and then start the process all over again. At least that's been my life.
I feel like that was a Big Blue, Baby Blue reference.
Oh, yeah. No, I wasn't talking physically about cars.
I know. But yeah, no, it's true. It's true. Like, as soon as I would get into the mindset of ride till the wheels fall off, usually the wheels fall off, you know, and it's because you're it's because you're so animate about making every moment count
that you don't care about going into debt or hurting someone's feelings or any of that shit. You know, I know.
Yep.
I know. I've done it myself. You're better at it. You're better at the whole crash and burn than I am, but I've definitely done it. But the one other thing that I wanted to say about minimalism, because you brought up girls, and I've been thinking about this, and I also think this is interesting that I could kind of keep up with, is I'm a single guy, and eventually I'm going to want to get into a relationship again, and I don't know how that's going to work. Because short of like starting to go to like minimalist meets and shit like that, which I'm not going to do because like I said, I'm not joining a cult. I'm just trying to adopt a better way of living.
What is that? You go up to Jake and want to have a little sex?
I don't own any condoms, so that's not possible. I've thrown them all out.
Bit of sex.
No, but I think that's going to be interesting because there's not going to be a lot of money since I'm pursuing creative pursuits. There's not going to be a lot of money, you know, and in my experience, whether they say it or not, and I'm not pigeonholing every woman because I've known women that aren't like this, but most of them care about money, and maybe not like, oh, buy me fucking diamond rings and fur coats, but are we going to be comfortable? Which is understandable. Right. It's an understandable thing, you know, like money adds comfort. And, and women want to be comfortable constantly, you know. Right. That's why you don't really see women living in their vans. You just see dudes living in their vans because dudes don't give a fuck about living in their vans. But women do, you know, that kind of thing. So as I'm dipping my toe back into dating world and now adopting this new lifestyle that I hope I'm going to stick with, that contrast between those two things I think is going to be interesting because, you know, I bring a chick back to my apartment and there's a fucking couch, no television, a couple guitars and a bed, you know what I mean? Like, she's going to think, like, if she doesn't know me, if it hasn't already been established, she's going to think either, like, well, this guy's fucking, like, broke, or he just sits there and stares at a white wall all day, or, you know what I mean? Like, it's going to be a weird thing.
Yeah, but that also, you know, it puts you in a good situation because... You know, you find the girl that is cool with that, and you find yourself a keeper.
That is my point here, and I think I'm going down the right path. Is that what I want? Instead of trying to find somebody else that makes me happy, which is I think what I did my whole life, and then thinking that things are going to fall into place after that. What I'm doing now is I'm setting up a lifestyle for myself that I'm not willing to compromise on.
Right.
And then so that way the person who comes into, and you know, I'll be flexible. So they don't have to be, it's not going to be like when Jerry Seinfeld dates Janine Garofalo and they're the same person. You know what I mean? But if they're cool enough to deal with that, or they're open-minded enough to see how that's, you know, or respect the fact or whatever, that already
is someone that's into you and not into the shit you got.
Right, exactly. So it all falls. But I think it'll be interesting as I'm dating and bringing hopefully various women back to my apartment. You know,
see, that's what always would put me in a lighted mood more than a dark, because I know I don't got shit, and I know my life is, rubble. You know what I mean? So when I find a chick that digs me, it's like, wow, you actually like me, because to put up with all this crap that is RTG, you got to be a strong chick, and you got to actually like me, because who the hell would put up with this crap?
But does it worry you, and I'm not judging here, but does it worry you that maybe when you are at your lowest, that the people you attract are there too? You know what I mean? So it might not be
like change me.
Not change you, but that happens, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm saying like maybe like maybe some girls you've dated, let's just say at the bottom of your drug addiction or whatever, you know, like could they be people that are long term because they're probably in the same situation that you're in?
No, that's never happened. I mean, I was just in a relationship that lasted way longer than it was supposed to.
Right.
I don't know if that was because of the drugs, but it was over way before it was completely over.
Oh, I understand that, yeah.
And, you know, there was a lot of hanging on, I guess, because of the drugs, but there was no emotional commitment there. Like, there was free roaming without any problem.
So okay,
when
let me ask you about this relationship, and I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Did you leave her? Or did she leave you?
It started as a mutual thing because of distance.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
But then there was some dabbling upon visits, and there was a move back home that allowed us to spend more time together. But ultimately, in the end,
I mean, you can say it's mutual. It doesn't matter.
Well, because there was a lot of back and forth. You know what I mean?
Okay. So yeah, right. But ultimately, like this always happens. But ultimately, who tried to make last contact?
If you want to say that, not me.
Okay, so let's just go on the fact that you left her, right? And it doesn't matter because there's always it's never.
I wouldn't say that.
It's not the fucking relationships are not like the movies. You don't say we're breaking up and then never see each other again. It just doesn't happen. Especially if you live within a radius of each other. There's always. I mean, I have this whole thing where. Always 1 year after I break up with a girl, I always end up hanging out with them again. I don't understand why. And there's always little things you just get in touch
I'm
and
sure
stuff.
That happens to anyone that ends up single and not with anyone.
But
else.
but if you're the one that stops talking to them, then that shows that you're.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We kind of just stopped talking to each other. There was some things were getting bad back and forth, so we just kind of stopped talking to each other. But when you said who was the last one to try and make contact, I'm going by that because there was a recent moment where someone tried to bring me to a situation where I was with that person in the same room.
Okay, right,
and she was making me feel really uncomfortable.
So you said, "Fuck this," I went out of this, basically.
At that moment,
yeah.
I mean, I was at that moment that we're talking about. I was already with somebody else. There was no question in my mind, but she was sitting there thought she could sit there and make faces at me and look at me like I'm a piece of meat. You know what I mean? And made me feel really fucking uncomfortable.
Wow.
To the point where I was like, I'm never going to talk to this person ever again.
Okay, so that's what I'm getting at. So then you said to yourself, I'm never going to talk to this person ever again.
Yeah.
And if you guys, and is she still bad with stuff?
I have no idea.
Okay, all right, and that doesn't really matter. But I guess what I'm saying is that even at the bottom of your drug abuse and whatever you were going through, you were still able to kind of be like, I don't want to be with this person. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah,
and still being able to be like, there's other people out there for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a girlfriend type of guy. I always end up with a girlfriend. You know what I mean? I don't purposely plan it that way. You know what I mean? That's the way things work out with me. You know what I mean? And I enjoy being with somebody, but I would never classify myself as a codependent.
Okay.
Never. You know what I mean? Because I enjoy being single. Some of the best times of my life were single.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean? But, I do enjoy the comfort of a lady.
Don't we all?
Can't deny that.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah, it makes sense. It's just hard to... It's just hard to navigate with the whole situation, especially when you're in bottoms in your life,
Yeah.
And which I think I'm digging out of one now, and that was one of the reasons why I haven't even resigned myself to dating at all. Short of the couple people that I've seen in this last almost year or so. I'd never even thought okay, it's time for me to get another girlfriend.
Yeah, it's take care of me before I take care of you.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, the whole minimalism thing, I just wanted to explain maybe a little bit what I'm trying to do. I'm not acting like I have any answers. I'm not acting like...
I think it's a good path to start on.
I think it is. I mean, I didn't just read one blog yesterday and I'm talking about this now.
Right.
I've been looking into this for months now. You know what I mean? And I think I'm ready to make the jump to do it.
I think it's really cool.
So,
and I think it's a really cool way to realize your own self-worth. You know what I mean? By cutting out all the crap and taking away all the things that you think define who you are, but don't.
Right. And I'm looking forward to figuring that out, because that I don't know. I'm just looking forward to it.
See, like, I'm in a biased position here. Like, I know you, dude. Like, there's no, you know what I mean? No matter how many guitars you get or whatever you accomplish, like, I know everything about you. So, like, I can't sit here and be like, maybe when you go minimalist, maybe I'll see who Dev is. You know what I mean?
No, and I don't think I'm going to change fundamentally. Like, I might be a little bit happier and stuff like that. I'm definitely not going to. One thing
but I've noticed changing you. I've noticed changes. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like,
oh, okay, all right.
I've noticed.
You're saying since we've reconnected and during this podcast.
Yes, it's 100% positive.
Okay, yeah, that is something I've been working on.
It is so positive. Yeah, you know, and I notice it.
Well, I know one thing that I will not do, and it might sound weird saying this because I just talked about it for 20 minutes, but one thing that I know that I won't do and I've never done in my life is preach to other people about it.
Right.
You know,
you're talking about yourself.
Yeah, I'm just setting this up here to because if people are listening to this, it's something that I'm probably going to keep talking about. Like, I think it'll be interesting. Like, I'll come in and I'll tell you something I got rid of, and you could tell me if I was fucking crazy or not. Yeah. Or I'll tell you if it's making you happier.
Garbage.
Or I'll tell you if it was the worst thing I've ever done, and I want all that shit back, but now I can't get it, and what am I going to do? Whatever comes from it, whatever the fruits of this, I will talk about on this podcast.
It's good,
and hopefully it'll be interesting. So, Richard, we need a name for this thing.
I know.
This is episode 6.
I know. I mean, I'm jotting them down. I'm spitting them out, but nothing.
All right. Well, we're gonna. I think we've set, and I'm just saying this on the air to kind of hold ourselves to it a little bit. But I think we've set a deadline for 2 days from now, Friday, October 9th.
That deadline was like 2 weeks ago.
I know, but
I think so far the winner is Dean with twin dicks. And the 2 hot dogs with mustard.
when he put twin dicks, I was gonna write back, but I didn't want to write it on there. I was gonna be like, I fucking wish. If we could actually call this podcast Twin Dicks, I would be the happiest human being on the face of the planet.
It's really good. You got to give him credit. I could have never thought of that.
No, we do need to come up with a name because we're going to put these episodes up soon. And it doesn't mean anything to anybody listening to this, because if you're listening to this means the episode's already up, which means they already have a name.
Yeah.
But for us, 6 episodes in, we still don't have a name. So
it's good for them to know the struggle we went through.
The struggle of coming up with a name with a podcast that nobody's going to listen to.
I know.
So anyway, I'm just telling you here while we're recording this to think about it and to write shit down.
I've been. I mean, it sucks that I don't have a piece of paper and a pen, but I've been jotting them all upstairs.
All right.
No, seriously, I have been working on it, and we'll come up with a name. I mean, even if some of the ones aren't exactly what we've been shooting for, there's a bunch of good ones.
Well, okay, so I guess this is another thing, and I know I've said this in previous episodes, but the whole point of this podcast, there's a concept behind this podcast, but we've kind of usurped it in a little bit because it's been so much fun for us just to talk to each other and talk about shit like.
But that does fit the.
Right, but I didn't expect it to go this well. So just so listeners at home understand.
Well, then I better drink up.
Yeah, great. Is that this whole thing again was supposed to. The concept is that there's 2 guys who have been friends forever. They're both down in the dumps. I know that I said this already, and then they become friends again through this podcast. Talk about their problems. Try to become better people. And maybe that there's people out there that are having their problems can relate. And then ultimately at the end, maybe we clean up a little bit. Maybe our life gets better. Maybe me and you become close friends again. All that kind of stuff, and just kind of follow that through the podcast.
Why, you don't think we're back in anything?
No, but this is what I'm saying. But then the second,
because now I'm living in a dream world, bro.
The second that when I was discussing this idea with a few of our close friends, I was saying they were saying to me, and don't take any offense to this.
It's okay.
But they were saying to me like, "Well, what are you going to do if he shows up and he's all fucked up and he can't talk?" And
am I that bad?
Sometimes, and my response to that was that is going to be part of it. You know what I mean? That was my whole vision for this. Is like we were going to work through, no matter how wrong and weird it got, we're going to work through everything and take it as it comes. And it still might get in that direction.
See, that is not fair, because what everyone is remembering is how bad I used to be from the last time I used to hang out.
Sure, but
You know
nobody
what I
has seen
mean?
you since then. So.
Right, true.
So
but
you
I
can't.
mean, everyone's basing their opinions on that,
Okay.
and already making up their minds about how you're going to deal with somebody that we knew 3 years ago.
Okay, and that's fair that you say that, but it's also fair that they think that. And it was also fair that I thought that coming into this, and this is what I'm talking about. There's still a lot of stuff to discuss as far as that goes, and to you, whoever's listening to this, we promise to you that we are going to be 100% transparent because we do want to just talk about our shit, no matter how ugly and dark it is.
Right.
But I didn't realize that when I hit record that first time that we were going to get along that easily off the bat. So that's the reason why we are allowing this to kind of take a little bit of a detour, and we could talk about things like, for instance, when our friend commits suicide, we could talk about that. For instance, today we ended up talking about minimalism. We didn't touch on anything about our lives or for the most part, you know what I mean, or tell our story leading up to now or anything like that. So that's all going to be interwoven. But the point of the name, I think one of the reasons why we were having a hard time coming up with the name is because we wanted the name that was going to kind of simply exemplify all of that, like kind of like, explain. Just sort of I'm just fucking tearing down that fourth wall. Is fucking when I said simply exemplify, Richie got real proud of me and gave me a wink as if to say good wordage.
Yeah. Because we know where exemplify goes. A+.
It's right up there with plethora.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's why we're having such a hard time with the name. But we will have a name. We will have imaging, and that's just the way shit's gonna go.
Wow. It's over?
That's it.
Damn.
If we hear "We Die Love," episode 6 of the tentatively titled Devin and Ritchie show is coming to an end. Thank you for listening. I'm not going to bore everybody with minimalism every episode, but I will give updates of things that I think are interesting or funny or soul crushing or whatever, But hopefully it makes me a happier dude.
Yeah.
Any parting last words, Richard?
No, except the fact that I really like the route you're going with this minimalist thing.
Cool, thank you.
I think it's really cool.
All right.
And it's nothing but positive. Nothing but positive.
I hope so. I need some positiveness. All right, we'll talk to you guys next episode.
Yep.
Hey lover, where did you go? I'm not high and I'm not low. If I knew a breakup, man, I can't break you up and taste you again. With love, with breath, wanna smoke you up. Even though my chest hurts, smoke you up. Get more pain, less, wanna smoke you up.
Thanks for listening to the Awkward High Five podcast. For more episodes, visit awkwardhighfive.com.